Hi and welcome everyone to today's presentation of the technology consultant Semcon. I'm an equity analyst here at ABG and my name is Stefan Knutsson, covering the company. And with me today I have the CEO of Semcon, Markus Granlund. Welcome Markus.
Thank you so much. So yes, thank you so much for having me and for the opportunity to present Semcon. We've been on quite a transformation journey the past few years, and it's good to give you an update on where we are and where we're going and what we have done. So please go to the next slide. So as you know, just a recap of what we do for the ones of you who are quite new to the company. We are the partner in advanced product development. We work with production optimization for our customers. And we also work with digital product information aftermarket solutions. Those three are the main offerings that we have from Semcon. Going to the next slide, please. So Semcon is an international technology company. As you know, we're around 2,000 dedicated employees. We had group revenue in 2020 of 1.6 billion crowns. And we turned 40 last year. It was a bit difficult to celebrate during the pandemic, but anyway, we were founded in 1980 and we're listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, as you know. And we're present at more than 30 sites in 7 countries. Moving to the next slide. So our statement that is very important and that we live by every day is that we put people first. As far as we are concerned, technology has no purpose of its own. It's the value it adds to people and our planet that is most important. And by uniting physical and digital solutions, we create user experiences that matter. This is how we make a difference. And that's really the why people join our company to work together with us and why customers work with us every day and how we create value for the end user of the products and solutions that we create. Going to the next slide, please. So we have 2 business areas. The largest business area being engineering and digital services with 62% of the share of the net sales in the group. And the second one is the business area product information, which has 38% of the net sales of the group. Going to the next slide, please. Just diving a bit into the business areas, starting with product information. This is the business area where we provide value to our customers in aftermarket solutions and product information solutions by providing services within digitalization and tools, providing platforms to our customers where they can populate information for their advanced products and systems that they have. We provide user information, which was formerly known as manuals, but is now digitalized and creating value in the aftermarket segment. We provide service information to the service technicians that serve all the products and systems that our customers have. And we create information for parts and accessories, and also digital training solutions, which has really accelerated during the pandemic, due to the fact that it's not much classroom training going on at the moment, but rather you train your employees by using digital platforms and e-learnings and so on. And we are now the leading player in Sweden in this segment, one of the largest in the Nordics, and continuing our growth in this very important segment. And we also provide strategic support and operational excellence related to these different offerings that we have that we provide to our customers. Next slide, please. So going into the figures of this business area, as you've noticed, a lot of focus has turned to aftermarket solutions, and therefore we've had a really good year in 2020 despite the pandemic, and we have also had a great start to this year and continue to really deliver excellent operating margins. So the operating margin is still on a very high level. As you can see, 16.6% operating margin in the first quarter this year compared to 15.9% in 2020. And the number of employees increased, of course, driven by demand for digital aftermarket solutions. And the share of functional sourcing and solution-based deliveries is large and increasing. And in this business area, we actually have long-term contracts for about 75% of the revenues, which is really important and a good platform for growth, of course. And we deliver with a multi-site delivery using our skill centers, for example, in Budapest, to provide really good value for our customers with the right cost base. And you see the industry diversification that we have in this business area, where manufacturing industry stands for 36%, automotive 27%, and we are quite big within telecom. We have some in life science, energy as well. And the public sector now, with the acquisition of Extractor that we made during Q2 last year, has really added the segment, the public sector as well, into our customer portfolio, which is great from many perspectives. So going to the next slide, please. If we look into the other business area, engineering and digital services, this is a more classic consultancy business area where we combine a digital edge and with really hardware knowledge, providing competences within strategic design and innovation, advanced engineering, production optimization, and digital services that really runs across all these. So it's product development and production optimization, the core of this business area. And we provide advisory services and project and quality management. And as you know, there is a large demand for technical solutions and technology in general, and it's getting more and more advanced, and therefore there is a huge demand for these services. Even though we've seen some up and downs historically in various industries, we still have see a large demand and a good possibility for growth for this business area. Moving to the next slide, please. So diving into the figures here, we do see positive market developments coming out of the pandemic now, hopefully, as vaccinations is being spread out. And we have grown the industry diversification. We had a very strong growth in life science, where we are one of the strongest players in the Nordics, which grew by 32% in the first quarter. And as expected, we had an organic growth that was impacted by restructuring in Q2 2020, where we had a restructuring carried out. And we also divested our Indian operations at the end of the year. So that has impacted the organic growth, predominantly the restructurings made in Q2. And therefore, you see a negative growth in the sales, but here we now have a fantastic platform to grow from, and in the Q1 figures you see that we have an operating margin of 10% compared to 9.2% in the previous year, and for the full year was impacted by restructurings that impacted the EBIT of 35 million crowns in this business area. So we are on a really good track, and we've made quite a transition over the past few years. Going to the next slide, please. So looking at group figures, we are really trailing at a good operating margin track, now reaching 11% in the first quarter for our total operations, compared to 10.2% for the same period in the previous year. We have really good growth opportunities, and where we prioritize life science and digital services. And as I mentioned, we saw good growth in both these segments in the first quarter. And as expected, as I mentioned, the sales growth was impacted by structural changes in 2020. And now we have a good growth possibility going forward. We also can note that in Q1, we had one fewer working day, which has an impact on our EBIT and our sales of about 6 million crowns. So looking year over year, it looks quite good. And productivity was positively impacted by new ways of working. And by that, I mean the work flexibility that we have now in Semcon, taking the positive things that we see in our new ways of working in the group, working in a more digital manner, and making sure that we perform the value for our customers that they expect. But it doesn't matter if we do that from our offices or from at home, but we have really a high productivity in the group, which is also fantastic. So moving on to the next slide, please. So looking at this transformation that I mentioned just in the beginning, that we have done over the past 5 years, we have really succeeded in creating a more diversified industry mix. We have less dependency on single sectors. That has really improved the resilience and positioning that we have as a group. And we saw the proof of that during 2020 when we had the pandemic crisis hit us in mainly Q2. We have improved the profitability over the past few years. Operating margin full year 2020 was 8% and Q1 now at 11%, as I mentioned. And 2020 includes restructuring costs of 37 million total in the group. So the adjusted margin is of course higher than the 8%, but we're glad that we're now coming in strong and starting strong in the first quarter of this year. And we've also achieved a very stable financial position over the past few years, where we have a net cash position of more than 200 million SEK, which of course increases our flexibility also to grow by way of acquisition. And we met all the financial objectives during 2020 that the board of directors had set up. So that's a fantastic achievement by my colleagues, which I'm really glad to report. And so you see the industry diversification in the right-hand corner, and now with manufacturing being at 32, mobility sector where we have really strong trends towards digitalization and electrification, also autonomous vehicles now standing for 31%, life science increasing quite a bit, and we also have a good position in telecom and energy, and also increasing in the public sector. Moving to the next slide, please. So now what we see is that we have a very good and stable foundation for profitable growth. And this is really the next step. Having a solid position, both financially and profitability-wise, is important to take the next step, and that's what we're doing now. Going to the next slide, please. So since we reached all the financial targets last year, the board of directors decided in Q1 this year to adopt new financial targets. So the targets for the group now is total annual revenue growth of at least 10%. And in that, we include acquisition growth as well as organic growth, and an operating margin of at least 10%. Moving to the next slide. So our strategy for growth is driving really the digital transformation for our customers. And we see this trend in all the industries that we're in, that it's a huge demand for really making this transformation, whether you talk about product development or investments into production facilities to ensure that you can really take the benefits out of all the data that you have in there to make that production facilities even more efficient. And it also is about the aftermarket part where we provide digital product information to our customers to ensure that they have a stable and really good aftermarket business. We create a really good impact with long-term partnerships. As I mentioned, we've now existed for more than 40 years, and many of our customers have been with us for more than 30 years. So we have long and stable partnerships with our customers, which is great, and also a good foundation for growth. And we need to have an inspiring workplace to attract the right talent, and that's why it's also very gratifying that we got the receipt of that's the fact that we have historically high net promoter score from our employees in the latest survey, which is also great to see. It's been a bit of a different situation now from a leadership perspective, leading in the digital world when we can't meet each other as much physically as we would like to. But still, and in the light of that, it's really gratifying to see that we're scoring really high on the net promoter score, the fact that our employees want to recommend Semcon as a working place. And the increased demand for sustainable innovations, I would say that this might be one of the most important factors when driving growth going forward. There is an enormous demand for sustainable innovations in all the industries that we're in, and we're helping our customers to find the solutions to do that. And we support the transformation, as I mentioned, in several industries, and that's really the edge that we have, that we're not focused on one single industry, but we are actually moving between various industries to help them with their transformation. And we have a financial stability, and we want to make even more strategic acquisitions to drive growth also in that regard. So moving to the next slide, please. So the ongoing strategic shift that we are in is really offering the high value services with digital edge within product development, production optimization, and aftermarket solutions. We have a business model where we work with specialists on site or in agile teams towards our customers, and we work with solution-based deliveries and functional sourcing as well. And we have a really good industry mix now, continuing to broaden the customer base that we have, which is a fantastic base to have with a lot of great trademarks that we work with. Going to the next slide, please. So when we say supporting the digital transformation, we mean, for example, the digital experience that the end user of the products or the services or solutions that our customers provide to the market, the digital experience of those products is what we help our customers with. We also create smart products, making sure that they are connected and digital. We work with autonomous solutions within mobility, and that's predominantly now in the initial phase within secluded areas, meaning, for example, harbors or transports within forests or so on, to help them have really good return on investment cases when it comes to autonomous transport within secluded areas. Electrification is also a very important trend within this, which we also include in the digital transformation that is ongoing and is affecting many of the industries that we are in, if not all. And we also, of course, we have a fantastic team within artificial intelligence and data management. And as I mentioned before, with regard to production or with regard to product development or aftermarket services, we can really create extra value through this knowledge and special services that we have here. So this is really a great offering that we have as well. So we are with the customer all the way from idea to implementation. Next slide, please. And talking about acquisition growth, here we have the latest acquisition that we completed just a few weeks ago, where we had the fantastic company Squeed, which has a fabulous trademark in the market and a very, very good reputation. We have now almost 100 employees joining us from this company, which is strengthening our digital position in the market. They have a net sales of in 2020 of 105 million. They had an operating profit of 14 million. And so this is a great complement to our services. And what we do with this acquisition is really that we're strengthening our digital position, and we're also broadening our customer base because it's complementing us within new industries. For example, the finance sector and also the retail sector where Squeed is very strong. They have a very good distribution when it comes to customer base already, so they have no large dependency on one single industry or one single customer, but is working very, very broad on digitalization with our customer, and fantastic software knowledge in that company. So we are very, very glad to welcome Squeed to Semcon, and this is, of course, boosting our growth further. Going to the next slide, please. So our sweet spot is really between the physical and the digital. As I've explained, we know the DNA of production. We know the DNA of the products that we have developed over the past 40 years together with our customers, and we are adding the digital layer. So we are not the company that come from the IT side of things. We know the DNA in the production and products that we develop. And we have a unique position with both advanced engineering and digital edge. And several players in the market can develop these separately, but only a few can improve them together, and that's what we do at Semcon. So we are in a good position to grow. Moving to the next slide, please. So sustainability as a driving force, I mentioned this in the beginning. There is a sense of urgency, as you all see in the market and in all the industries that we are in. And we do see the shift in the discussions now between going from being a risk to an opportunity. And a lot of the companies and customers that we work with are really seeing the opportunity to make good business of the transformation into a more sustainable way of providing products and services in the market. And we are helping them in doing this. And there is an increased demand for sustainable business models, which is also part of our discussions now with our customers. And new regulation and increased transparency obviously drives this demand even further. So I would say that this will be one of the key drivers for growth going forward for Semcon for many years. And it's impacting all the industries, as I said. Going to the next slide, please. So in summary, We have a solid position for future growth, growing need for technology, increased focus on service and aftermarket solutions, and also with a touch, of course, of sustainability, where we can make a really big difference for our customers. We have a unique combination of digital solutions and advanced engineering. We have a beneficial industry diversification that has really improved over the past few years that many in the market, I think, have not yet recognized. And we have fantastic colleagues that are inspired, which is, of course, a basis for profitable growth. And we have an excellent financial position. So we are now writing the next chapter of our history, and that's a really exciting journey. So next slide, please. And that's why we put people first and then technology. It's really important that we make a difference in our product development, production optimization, and aftermarket services, where we put people first and use our expertise in technology. So thank you, and I open up for questions.
Thank you, Markus, for the presentation. I will conclude with some Q&A. And first up, obviously, COVID-19 affected you during 2020 with the 2 restructurings. But what is your view on the business recovery now when society is slowly coming back to normal here in Q2 and also in the second half of 21?
As I mentioned, I'm so impressed by my colleagues at Semcon, where we have really handled a very difficult situation in an excellent manner, making the restructurings, accelerating our transformation that we did during 2020. We are now in an excellent position. Now, we maybe did a couple of years' work in 1 year to make this transformation even quicker. And that's why we have such a good position now for growth. Obviously, for the first quarter, we reported negative organic growth due to the restructurings, but everyone knew that. And now when we have, going for the rolling 12 going forward, we do see a positive development. So when everything is opening up now, we do see that it's the possibility to open up even more new customer accounts and have more, good discussions with our customers, and we do see a good market development.
And also, COVID-19 led to some cost savings. You reported a strong EBIT margin here of 11% in the first quarter, but are these cost savings that you had last year only temporary, or do you expect to keep them more long term?
I think that we have a bit of a cost saving, a bit lower cost in 2020 due to the fact that we didn't carry out as many activities. We didn't travel as much. I think that's what we see in many companies, not just in Semcon. But on the other hand, we do not have expectations that we will move back to the cost level of 2019. We have permanently made sure that we can keep the cost level at a lower level, and we've also implemented the additional efficiency measures in acting when we made the restructurings during Q2 last year. So we do see that we will have a lower cost base going forward compared to 2019. We will take more investments into sales activities going forward because we want to boost our growth and grow further. And so we will take investments in that in both business areas, both EDS and product information. But in general, as I said, we will keep the cost level down. But we had some extra low cost level in 2020. But hopefully we will compensate that by growing the business further.
And as you mentioned in the presentation, your revenue mix has becoming a lot more diversified now, mainly as life science revenues has grown. Is it also within that industry that you see the most future potential?
We have a very, very good position in life science, and it's a bit of a larger hurdle for our competitors to get into life science because it's more a regulatory industry compared to maybe other industries, if we compare. And we have a very strong position in the Nordics. So we continue to see a very good demand for our services within life science. And we have strengthened our trademark even more now in life science when it comes to recruiting competence into that area. So we do see a large interest for Semcon and joining Semcon to make a difference within that industry, which is great. So yes, we do see a very good potential to grow that further, and we're happy to see that we grew that by 32% in the first quarter.
That sounds promising. And just to conclude now, let's talk a lot more about your growth agenda. You recently acquired Squid, and my impression is that Squid is a small, fast-growing and profitable consultancy company. I mean, how hard was it to get this deal done? And was it a gem, or do you think that you can find similar companies out there?
We've had many and various discussions over the years. For us, it's really important that we have a match in the culture of the companies, that we see that this is something that really can complement Semcon, and that it's not more of the same, but it can add something in the customer base. It can add something from a competence perspective, and Squid is really doing that. We see other similar companies, but just because it's a company within digital competence doesn't mean it's right for Semcon. Squid is definitely right for Semcon. It's great to add an extra 100 million to the revenue and welcoming 100 new colleagues to Semcon, to the Semcon group, and we do see other companies like this in the market. But we have really invested time in having the discussions and how we should operate together, and we've done that very thoroughly because we want to succeed with these kind of acquisitions, and we do see other opportunities in the market, definitely. And with our strong financial position, we have, as I said, a good flexibility here to grow also with acquisitions going forward.
Perfect. It will be interesting to follow your journey going forward here. But that concludes the presentation, and I would like to thank you, Markus, for coming here and presenting with us today.
Thank you very much.